my presentation, and I will see you in a minute. So hello everybody again from me, Vlad. Today I'll be talking about the scaling decentralized applications as part of the Eternity webinar series. I'm actually doing the second webinar. This is the second webinar, um, and we plan to do these 2 times per month. And next time it won't be me, it will be someone even more interesting than me. So without doing any other introduction, since we are a bit short on time, let me just jump into the presentation itself. These are going to be the contents. I'm not going to go through them now. I'm just going to, as I said, jump into the presentation because the time is limited. So we start with the dot-com bubble. And I wasn't really into the internet and what's happening in the United States and in Western Europe back then when the dot-com bubble was happening, which was the late 1990s. But as far as what I have heard is that, I mean, I have researched it, and there was a huge amount of projects which were very promising, and they all had one thing in common. Most of them, or actually all of them, included the word internet in them. So basically, if it was an internet project, it's the next big thing. And a huge number of companies, hundreds of companies appeared and did IPOs, which generate obscene amounts of money. And from all of that, of course, there were three types of companies that appeared: complete failures, which were the majority, relative successes, and the really, really big winners. And there is a very interesting parallel that could be done between the word internet and blockchain, in the sense that currently the hyped word is really blockchain. There are companies that add the blockchain name to their the blockchain, yeah, exactly, the name or the word blockchain to their names, and their valuation skyrockets. I think what happened during the dot-com bubble is very similar to what we are witnessing in the so-called dot token bubble last year and continuing this year. And when I say continuing this year, I mean this table. You can see that it's actually started from July 17th until June 18th, and this is taken from CoinDesk. It's a very interesting chart. But last year we thought that the whole sphere exploded. And as you can see, in June this year, this 5 billion were generated by token amounts this year. So currently the token bubble is reaching 18 billion, and this is only from the sums from July 17th until June 18th. So what is happening? What is happening here? Why are these projects so interested? Who is going in? Why are such huge amounts of money being invested? And the answer is that this is caused by so-called irrational exuberance. And irrational exuberance is very interesting because it kind of goes along with disruptive technologies. Back when the first automobiles were created, there was irrational exuberance. When the first railroad tracks were being laid down, there was irrational exuberance. Of course, during the dot-com era, again, irrational exuberance, and most certainly in blockchain, with blockchain technologies, decentralized applications, there is still irrational exuberance. And really nothing important really has happened or ever been built without irrational exuberance. Without talking about doing the parallels between the blockchain so-called bubble and the dot-com bubble, let me just quickly jump into what is blockchain technology. And this has been discussed numerous times. If you write in Google what is blockchain, you have a million different explanations. I'm just gonna give you a brief one, maybe not the most perfect one, but my explanation. It's a cryptographic protocol. Blockchain technology is based on cryptographic protocols, and a protocol means a set of rules, and these rules are enacted by cryptography. So you cannot change the rules because they are protected by cryptography. It's blockchain technology provides a new type of ledger, and in everyday life, when you go to using governmental services, so when you go to the bank, basically any kind of business or service has its own ledger and keeps its own ledger, and sometimes that ledger needs to be synced with other ledgers, and then you get these huge amount of layers of with like the big ledger on top and then smaller ledgers under it and so on, like huge networks of ledgers. But actually ledgers are fundamental part of the world that we live, and who manages these ledgers um, vests in himself or their self a huge amounts of responsibility and power. So blockchain technology provides a new type of ledger or a new type of organizing, securing a ledger. And what is unique about this ledger is that it's open to anyone. So anyone has access when it comes, for example, in the case of public blockchains, Bitcoin, anyone has access to this ledger, can read the ledger, can read the history of the ledger. But only certain specific type of users can actually edit the ledger or update the ledger and under specific types of rules, like based on the cryptographic protocol. And what is interesting is that this really introduces a new security model. Usually, when it comes to security, what you do, you have a product or a service, and then you build walls around it, and you try to keep everybody out, so that this information inside is not accessible, but by no one apart from the ones that you approve of. But with blockchain technology and this new type of ledger, the new security model is actually to open the system to everyone and to make sure that all the incentives of the users inside the system, or the users who are using, reading, or writing on the ledger, all their incentives are aligned. And this is basically a security model based on game theory. It's super interesting. I think this is one of the most really revolutionary things when it comes to blockchain technology. And the interesting thing is that this ledger is managed by multiple parties, as I mentioned already. It's not a single entity that is writing in this ledger or updating this ledger. It's multiple parties that are updating, adding information to the ledger. And very importantly, I think and I haven't included this here. I was going to, but then I didn't. It's that it's immutable. So once anything goes inside of this ledger, no one can destroy it. So if you put a transaction in the Bitcoin network currently, it will stay there forever, or as long as the Bitcoin network exists. There is not a single government or institution or business or a corporation that can go and destroy that information. It stays there forever. And this is really, really, really revolutionary. It's all based on consensus building. And very importantly, and finally, because I took a lot of time on this part, blockchain is not DOT. Centralized blockchains are, for me, not revolutionary. They still have these centralized authorities that manage the ledgers and that can um, update the ledgers, change the information inside the ledgers, and also change historical information in the ledgers. And I think this is really not innovative, not disruptive, could be useful in certain use cases, especially currently because everyone working on DLDs, they're usually companies that already are working with businesses, and they are trying to not really disrupt the service industry, like the services that they have provided already. They're trying to update them a little bit using the hyped word blockchain. But DOT is not blockchain. The real blockchain technology is public blockchain technology. And what are the issues today? And there are a number of numerous issues when it comes to decentralized applications and how to scale them to blockchain platforms and so forth. And let me just quickly go through that because, again, not too much time. So intermediaries, as I mentioned, numerous companies, or actually blockchain technology is set to disrupt numerous types of services and remove third parties and intermediaries. But the fact is that these intermediaries are holding the, so to say, the bone or the control very tightly, and they will not simply let it go. They will fight for it for a long time. Moreover, they are very entangled in the economy, state, and society, meaning that um, they provide services and people are used to those services. And even if something better comes up, it's going to take time for people to start looking in that direction and to change their service provider, so to say. People generally are afraid of change and they're slow to adapt. And this is the so-called generation gap. That it's just the name that I've given it. It might be not the perfect one. But generally, people are afraid of change, and that means that um, it also they're not very used to technologies, depending on which generation you're referring to. Even if they're even if the service that they're using is a bit slower and it's a bit inefficient, they'll still continue to use it because they're just used to it. And I think this problem will solve itself. But what will not solve itself is scaling and performance. And that is the biggest issue currently facing decentralized applications, or the usability of decentralized applications and platforms. And this will take a lot of work, a lot of research and development will go into this, and it's actually happening now. So the problem is that existing public blockchains and the decentralized applications on top of them don't scale very well currently. And there are a huge number of projects. Actually, everyone out there is trying to solve scalability. And Eternity as well is trying to approach scalability from a unique perspective. And then we go to usability. When you are using, how many decentralized applications are you currently using? And y- maybe you don't know that. I mean, actually, the wallet, cryptocurrency wallet, is a kind of a decentralized application, but that's the only decentralized application that is really out there, that exists on your mobile device. Maybe there are a few more, but I would say they look like back-end systems for geeks. They're not very usable. They're not familiar for the average user. And without that, I think there could be no commercial success for blockchain technology and decentralized applications. Then we go to the issues today. Mobile support. Not too many of the most interesting features of public blockchains, of blockchain technology, are available for mobile devices. And mobile devices are very important for basically the half of the world's population, like the population in developing countries. And mobiles means fast and familiar. It means that you need to take your phone, you want to do something, and you do it. And current public blockchain infrastructure is not very well suited for that. And it will take work for it to be updated. Then we go to smart contract security. You have all, I guess, heard about the DAO debacle and the parity hacks last year. I think generally smart contracts, the currently most commercially popular smart contracts, are not very secure and they're not suitable for really serious applications. Then we go to price volatility, the thing that we are seeing basically on a daily basis. Why would you use a token to use a decentralized application if you believe that that token's price will go up tomorrow? Why would you use it today? And this is a bit problematic. This is tokens provide companies the opportunity to generate amounts for their startup blockchain businesses, but at the same time, using tokens as payment method, it's perhaps not the perfect thing to do at this point. And also, when it comes to centralized applications, um, they suffer from variable cost to use. For example, if the system, the decentralized platform, or the blockchain platform that they are built on, if it's let's say it's under heavy load today, it might cost $10 to use an application. But then if it's not under load, it might cost like $2 or $3. So this uncertainty is not what users are used to. And this could be a barrier to commercial success of decentralized applications, to the scaling of decentralized applications to a global audience. And then we go to access to real world data. How do you get information into the blockchain? And of course, you can do it with an API. You can connect to a certain API, and then whatever the API sends as information, your smart contract runs on or initiates. But then if somebody, then what is the purpose of your smart contract being decentralized when it has a single point of failure, which is the API? And that's why, like, this is the solution to this could be oracles. And oracles could provide basically information from the crowd, or generate information that flows into a smart contract in a decentralized way. So many different people verifying the truthfulness of the information and then sending it, so to say, to a smart contract. So all of these issues, I would say, they sound like a lot, definitely. But let me show you something. So this was Amazon when it first appeared, and this was Netscape when it first appeared, the first web browser. And this was actually the Facebook, the application that we are actually, it's not an application. It's a type of internet at this point that it started as this, like this. So it wasn't really pretty, so to say. It wasn't looking very promising, I would say. But I think that history rhymes, and these issues of the internet basically was solved in 20 years. And the internet had similar issues that blockchain technology, decentralized applications have currently. But I believe that the issues of decentralized applications will solve will be solved, actually. They will not solve themselves, but they will be solved in less than I would say 10 years. And then when you look back, it's going to be funny how they looked and how everybody was doubting them. And now I go to Eternity, to this part of what is Eternity. It's a bit of a general information. I guess most of you guys know what is Eternity, but let me just refresh you on this, and also to provide this information for any newcomers that we might have in the webinar. So it's an open source blockchain 3 apps platform, and blockchain 3.0 means basically built from the very beginning for scaling, for addressing the issues of scaling, but also governance, usability, efficiency, real world data, smart contract security. These are all issues that we are trying to solve with Eternity. And as you know, Eternity is based in Liechtenstein. And Liechtenstein is actually a great place to base a blockchain project in, because you have a very direct contact. One of the reasons is that you have a very direct contact with regulators. And actually, Eternity was one of the first blockchain projects, that maybe the first, that entered the country and started this dialogue with the regulators. And also, we recently launched the House of Blockchain, which is a co-working space for blockchain startups in Liechtenstein. It's a nice place where projects can go work and get guidance and support from the industry experts around them. So if you have a blockchain project, it's a great place to go. What technology do we use? This is just some of the technology that we use, but the most important one, I would say, is Erlang, which is a functional programming language. And it was funny for me to find out only recently that currently the whole internet, actually 90% of internet nodes run on Erlang. So basically you have internet because of Erlang. And this was actually perhaps maybe wasn't the most important reason, but since Erlang is a functional programming languages and it's built to scale, to ensure very high uptimes, to be very stable, I think that Erlang is very, or could prove itself to be extremely appropriate, very appropriate for blockchain platform development. And that is exactly what Eternity is trying to do. And when it comes to, again, Erlang, we have in the team some of the most experienced experts in Erlang building a very complex architectures in Erlang, basically Erlang superstars. Also from the team, we have cryptocurrency veterans and blockchain enthusiasts and believers such as myself. Generally, I would say, since the dev team for me, it's one of the most important things when it comes to deciding if a specific blockchain project or any project could succeed in the future. I think our team is one of the best teams, like development teams, out there, and I expect only greatness from them. They together, like all of the team members together, have more than 100 years of total programming experience, and as I said, they have built really complex systems throughout their work as developers. So very quickly through the main features of Eternity, scalability via state channels. What does this mean? It means that we are solving scalability in two ways: on-chain and off-chain. On-chain, we are solving with the implementation of Bitcoin NG, and off-chain, we're using state channels, which kind of look like payment channels of the Lightning Network in Bitcoin, but are actually you can also run smart contracts. And actually, the last development update that we received only yesterday mentioned that it's currently possible to run to open state channels between two parties and run smart contracts between them. So this is already implemented. And the good thing about state channels is basically that it removes this idea of transactions per second, because the speed of interaction between the peers is basically limited only by the bandwidth or the internet speed between them. So, and another great thing about state channels is privacy. Basically, two parties can communicate only between themselves without announcing any information to the outside world. And this is very important for decentralized applications that require a certain degree of privacy. Then we go to oracles. I mentioned what oracles are. In Eternity, anyone can become an oracle, and anyone can ask an oracle a question. Oh, very sorry. Excuse me, guys. And so becoming an oracle, it could be meaningful for you, because you might generate you might provide uh, replies to questions and then be rewarded in AE cryptocurrency for your replies. And this is all integrated into the system. This is not a third-party service. So this is, I think, Oracle's Eternity, since they are integrated, will be much more efficient to use and much more easy to use to implement into smart contracts by developers than in other currently existing systems. Naming system is it's quite self-explanatory, but let me just quickly go through that. So you know that in public blockchain systems you have these addresses, which are just strings of numbers and letters, and it's very hard to remember which one is yours, which one is your friend's. In Eternity, we have an integrated naming system. So basically, you can register a name and associate it with a specific address. So anyone could be sending to you, anyone will be able to send to your name and not using your whole address. And in Eternity, the addresses are even longer than the one that we are used to. So the naming system is really important and essential also for usability of decentralized applications. Then we have the cuckoo cycle proof of work. And the cuckoo cycle is a mining algorithm that we are implementing in order to keep the mining decentralization, basic as for as long as possible, and to not allow or to prevent the creation of ASICs. And I'm not saying that ASICs will not be created. Definitely, at some point in time, they will be created. But currently, Cuckoo Cycle makes it very economically infeasible to create ASICs. And we hope that thanks to Cuckoo Cycle, this will be the case for years to come. It's actually the most memory bound mining algorithm, and this is and in order to improve its efficiency, what you need to do is improve the efficiency of RAM itself. So it's a very interesting algorithm. It's very innovative, and we think that it will address this mining decentralization in a good way. And also, when it comes to Google Cycle, just finally, it also prevents the creation of large mining pools. So this is also very interesting. If we can keep solo mining for as long as possible, this could be again something a win for decentralization. And then we have governance, and governance is very important for any blockchain system. What are we trying to do is to provide a formal way of getting information from users who have a cryptocurrency. Now, tokens after mainnet launch cryptocurrency, AE cryptocurrency, to provide information what they think is best for the future. So anyone will be able to anyone who has AE tokens, let's say, will be able to vote with them for different proposals, either formal or informal proposals. And in the beginning, upon mainnet launch, when you vote on a specific, like when you can create a question using the voting app, and anyone can vote with their AE holdings. And at the beginning, like for example, when it comes to the block size or block time, let's say some kind of a fundamental system variables, the users will be able to signal to the developers with their token balances using the voting app or the governance app about what they think it's a good size, for example, for the block or for block time or the amount of A tokens each block should generate. And this will provide very essential information coming from people or from users who have AE tokens. And then smart contracts, super important topic. We have envisioned the creation of two types of unique smart contracts. One is called Sophia and the other one is called Varna. Upon mainnet launch, we will have Sophia. Also, we have envisioned some support for Solidity, and when the mainnet launches, users will be able to create basic Solidity smart contracts. But our focus will be on Sophia, to developing Sophia and Varna, because these smart contracts will be, so to say, the natural smart contracts of Eternity, and they'll be able to directly interact with the first class objects, which are the oracles, state channels, naming system, and so on. And this is really what the essence of Eternity is. And again, even like from the very start, since we started Eternity, since Eternity appeared as a project, the mobile first approach was very, very important for us. And we want users globally to start experiencing blockchain technology on their mobile devices. And that's why we are creating the so-called apps to be mobile friendly from the very start. So with support for Android and iPhone, and also web interface. And apps on Eternity are called apps, which kind of sounds the same. And we want to make decentralized applications on Eternity, which are actually better or can provide some kind of utility to businesses, to entrepreneurs, which they cannot get from other projects, let's say. And user friendliness, I would say, is one of the most important thing, not only for the developers, for the users, for the really the ability to spread decentralized applications on a global scale. And let me show you finally these three demos of apps. And just a small note that these apps get improved basically on a weekly basis, also on a daily basis. And only recently, this week, the apps team introduced some updates on the base app. So the screens that I'm going to show you might not be completely up to date and might not be the thing that you're going to see once the mainnet launches and the applications are available. It actually might be even better. So this is how the base app will look, and the base app is really at the core, at the center of the Eternity apps ecosystem. It will need to authorize. So this is basically your wallet. So and you will have different accounts in it, and these accounts will be used by all other applications that get developed on Eternity. So this needs to be very user friendly, very familiar to the user. And as you can see, we have envisioned this, we have created the base app with the user in mind. And we are also, with the air sign option that you can see on the right, we are allowing the users to have a like very secure way to store their AE tokens or cryptocurrencies in cryptocurrency in the future, so that they can still have them, they can still manage them by like through their mobile device and participate in the governance, in the voting, and not have their AE tokens in a hardware wallet somewhere sitting there just because it's safer. We want the users to be to feel as safe as possible on their mobile device, and to use the weight of their AE tokens for participating in the various governance applications. And it's a very standard way of creating accounts, as you can see here. But then, like, you can browse apps when you enter the app. You can switch accounts. You can see your balances in accounts. You can remove apps. So basically, this will be your window into the Eternity apps ecosystem. And the transfer app actually got integrated into the base app recently, so that it's just a seamless experience between the two. And the transfer app is used for doing transfer, so you can transfer between accounts to other accounts. And here the example is taken with a receiving address, which is an Ethereum address. But actually, you'll be able, as I said, using the naming system, use a name there, not a number, like not a string of numbers and letters, but use a specific name. So it's easier, much more easier for you to do transactions. And then we go to the voting app, and basically the voting app allows anyone to create questions, and for anyone else to start voting on these the replies to these questions. It's super easy. You can do it on your mobile device, as you can see, and you vote with the amount of tokens that you have. So if you have 108 tokens, and you select, for example, proof, the proof option, then the total weight of that will be increased by the amount of tokens that you have. So if you have 180 tokens, it will go up with 180 tokens. And this is a great way to provide information for various questions. For example, should we engage with this PR agency? Should we get into partnership with this company? Should we improve the base app? Anyone will be able to create these questions, and anyone with a cryptocurrency provide answers to these. And it's in the interest of whoever has AE to think the best of the system, so to say. So we get really relevant information from the people who have a sort of a stake in the future of this system. So I think this is a great app, and I'll be using that very frequently, I'm pretty sure. And this is the presentation. I will give the word to the real time Vlad in a minute. Of course, if you can go to any of our communication channels, talk to us there. But since this is the webinar, you can contact me, both Vlads. You can contact us, the real time and the past Vlad, on this email address. And the real-time Vlad is actually ready for your questions in the webinar. So we have about 15 minutes. So go ahead, real-time Vlad. All right, guys. So big thanks to past Vlad, and this is me, real-time Vlad, ready for your questions. I already replied to a number of questions in the chat. I have to use my phone because in the tab, if I play it, then I have the sound, and then you get this effect, this bad effect that was in the beginning. So let me try to see what is the next one. Um, Yeah, I see someone commenting on the price and exchanges. And guys, as I've mentioned this numerous times, we're not really interested in that. We're not interested in speculation. We're not interested in exchanges or the price of the a token. Especially at this point, we're trying to create a quite complex, secure blockchain platform that needs to support decentralized applications, and it should scale them really nicely. And this is quite a heavy thing to do and quite a difficult thing to do. Um, and as I said, generally, yeah, liquidity is not something that we are interested in. And if this is the reason for you to sell your AE, then this is absolutely up to you, and you can of course do what you want with your AE tokens. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Yes, definitely, Joshua. We are definitely focusing on the technology because this is the most important thing. It's the product, and it's also open source. So we are not creating this for ourselves. We are actually creating it for everyone, for all of you. Um, and if it's successful, and we really wanted to make it as successful as possible, I think this is really the most important thing. It's not price or anything like that. I don't see anymore. Oh, there we go. We have another one. Uh, yes, definitely. I've seen this comment about marketing, and we are trying to boost our marketing basically on a daily basis. We are constantly attracting new team members. Our community managers are rising in numbers. We actually have we just included or added to the team a Chinese community manager, and he's very great. Maybe you know him. His name is Mark. And it's not only about community management. We are also sharing information or publishing information in various outlets. And since this is a Eternity webinar, let me give you just a little bit of information. Something that is going to happen very soon, perhaps even by the end of the week, maybe the next week at the latest. We are going to set up a dedicated Twitter account for all the PR stuff that is coming out, because most of it, or not all of it, is getting shared in our official Eternity channel. We're going to dedicate a specific Twitter account which will include every mention of Eternity that we managed to produce together with the PR agency that we are working with. Let me see here. So when can we have a webinar with development team? That's actually something that is coming up. We would like to have members of the development team do these webinars and share what they're working on, what is their actually what they're interested in, what challenges they're facing, and what what solutions they have found. So definitely we know that development updates are really important, and we actually, apart from the weekly development updates that we're doing in the blog, we would like to engage them more in the webinar. But as you can imagine, they are quite busy building building the blockchain. Eternity, of course, and that is why we're going to try to make streaming these webinars as easy for them as possible, which, as I found out, is not so easy. Um, I see what is the top priority for Eternity. I would say decentralization and user friendliness of applications. This is super important. And when it comes to usability of applications, this is of course related to scalability. So, so definitely the product, the blockchain platform is a super high priority. Mobility, yes, of course. We would like to bring, as I mentioned, as past that mentioned in the recording, we would like to bring the blockchain to mobile devices, and that's why we are developing our apps to be usable on Android and on iPhone. Um, so yes, yes, I get this question. Marketing, marketing, marketing. I must say that Eternity was it's a bit like it has a quite a different way of doing marketing. What we are seeing currently is that a lot of projects, I would say more than 90% of projects out there are doing excessive marketing, and they are doing excessive marketing on top of zero product. So what we are trying to do is basically put our efforts in developing the product, and if when the product starts being useful, we believe that then our marketing can be really well more focused. We would not like to sell you guys. We're not selling anything anyway, but we would not like to engage in aggressive marketing. We have interesting fact is that we have never done any kind of social media promotions. And we have been organic from the very start. As I mentioned, nonetheless, we're trying to develop a marketing team, um, get more content out, reach more channels, be more active in the different channels. But it will happen slowly in time. Let me see another question. Yes, Blockfolio is something that we introduced recently, and it's quite an interesting tool, and I'm glad that you saw that this there. We have a couple of people managing our Telegram channels. So I have personally haven't seen what's happening in Telegram today. I really hope that it was shared there, but if it was not, I will inform the community managers. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yes, the Oracle's how to use Oracle's guide, of course, is something very interesting. As soon as we have this information available from the development team, we will of course provide it to the community. I am also personally very interested in becoming an Oracle and to see how Oracles in Eternity work. I see that is there an SDK for apps? Yes, when if you go to apps, AEPPS, apps.com, there will be a link to the dev part, which is actually dev.apps. Oh, what was sorry, what was the website? I forgot, like, because it has also, I think it's apps.æternity.com, but I'm not sure about the dev part. So if you go to apps.æternity.com, there is a link to the development tools there. So you can see the SDK there. Um, Yes, hopefully the marketing will blossom after mainnet launch. We are really trying to push things forward. Actually, we just had a marketing workshop, a quite useful one, I must say, which lasted about three days. So we managed to plan our activities for the next couple of months. Online workshops for developers are is very important. I would say. As so there are two ways of approaching that: either getting more developers joining the team, developers that can be engaged in marketing activities, or at this point we can ask current developers to start doing these workshops, which is not really feasible